Hey, Hawkeye fans, Chad Leistikow of the Des Moines Register, Tyler Tachman of the Des Moines Register. Tough loss for the Hawkeyes today at Kinnick Stadium, 20-19. Several occasions in this game, Tyler, it seemed like Iowa had this game in control, including with like 30 seconds left in the game. But obviously, credit to Iowa State, fought hard, won the game, deserved to win the game. Iowa deserved to lose the game.
Yeah, it felt like it was just kind of the missed opportunities came back to bite Iowa when you look at the fact that twice in the first half they had first and goals, weren't able to convert touchdowns, and both of them ended on field goals. And then there was the missed 2-point conversion later. So, like, when you add all those up, that's potentially 10 points, where in a 1-point game, that's just seismic. And then the fact that, Iowa, even with kind of those not being able to convert in the first half in the red zone, still up 13-0 at halftime. You feel decently solid. It could have been at least 21, but still 13-0 with Iowa's defense. You're feeling really good. And Iowa State's passing game, Rocco Beck, just kind of uncharacteristically for Iowa's defense, the secondary got exposed. There was that 75-yard touchdown. It just felt like Iowa State really seized all the momentum. And beyond Caleb Johnson, who had a fantastic day, the offense just sputtering. Cade McEvoy, I believe, if I counted right, 4 for his last 17 passes he completed. Didn't even get to 100 yards passing on the day. After the Illinois State performance, where it kind of looked like the Michigan version of himself, this was a pretty clear step back and maybe more. So, and then all that kind of crescendoed in the game-winning field goal for Iowa State. Credit to their kicker. That was a big-time kick.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of big pressure situation, knocked it through. So, it was missed opportunities for all the games that Iowa was like kind of able to escape with last season. When
Right.
you look at the Nebraska game, Northwestern, Iowa State last season, like it felt like the mistakes kind of finally caught up to them this season.
Yeah, I mean, I could go on for a long time here, trying to decide where to begin. Where do you want me to begin? What do you think I should begin with?
I mean,
you lead me here, Tyler.
Well, maybe start with quarterback play with Cade, because I
Okay.
think that's probably going to be a main talking point here.
Okay, well, we will. That's not how I led my column, but I did get toward the end of my column, which should be posted here any minute. It was a pretty scathing column. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy that. McNamara, let's start with him. Like you said, 4 for 17 for 28 yards to finish. He started okay. I mean, like the offense looked good early. It was a nice mix of run and pass. I liked what they were doing. Even on that very first drive, I think they gained maybe 36 yards, something like that, picked up 3 first downs, had to punt, but Restaken pins them back. So again, kind of the stuff Iowa needs to do to win, right? Just make the trains run on time. He was 9 for 21 for 71 yards on his first 12 attempts, finishes 13 for 29 for 99. And really, to me, beyond the bad stats, the decision that really turned this game for Cade was the interception on Iowa's first play of the second half. Iowa gets the ball back at Iowa State's 42-yard line with a 13-0 lead after kind of a shanked punt, and the defense, I think it's a 3-and-out right out of the gate, or a stop. I'll have to look to see if it was actually 3-and-out. And then they run a little bit of what he called like a trickeration play, and it was a roll right to try to take a shot down the left sideline. It wasn't there. Cade tried to force it anyway. The ball gets picked off. It was a 3-and-out on Iowa State. And that was the moment where we saw Iowa State sideline explode. If the excitement, the defense exploded, it was like, that's probably exactly what Matt Campbell said in the locker room. Let's just get a big, let's make a play. Let's make a play. You know what I mean? And just get back in this thing. And then they did it. They took the ball 75 yards, got a touchdown, actually converted in the red zone. And then Iowa answers, to its credit, with a Caleb Johnson score. But then they go over the top for a 75-yard touchdown. And it just felt like from that point on, Cade was just, not effective at all. It was punt, 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 and then Hail Mary. That was the possessions to close out the game. Punt, 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 punt.
Yeah, and you feel like it felt like I was in quicksand almost. Like they just couldn't do anything to get momentum, to get rhythm. I mean, Caleb Johnson, he in the offensive line, those were really offensively the two bright spots. But at the same time, it's like to score 19 points, all of them were from the offense. Like you would have thought that might have been enough. Like last season, Iowa scored 13 points offensively because they had 20. One of them was a Sebastian Castro pick six. Like 19 points, you would think potentially would have been enough, but it was just like, it was actually like jarring to see the way that Iowa's defense was kind of picked apart in the second half. Like to allow, I can't, obviously you've been on the beat longer than me, but it doesn't seem like it happens often that an opponent scores 20 points in one half.
Well, we knew this, but we knew this. Iowa State, we knew the one way that they had the potential to throw the ball downfield. I mean, and that's what's, I think, got to be frustrating for this Iowa defense to give up a 75-yard touchdown.
Yeah. And that wasn't even close. I mean,
no, he was
wide open. Yeah, it was badly busted coverage.
Yeah, and for the record, Jay Higgins tried to take blame for the play afterwards. Said he should have, pushed his receiver off his route a little bit more. But obviously, that's a big time play from Jalen Knoll. Who burned Xavier Wampa, who was benched after that play. So they would have benched Jay Higgins, right? If it was actually Jay's fault.
Yeah, I don't
know about that.
No, I'm not sure about that.
But Cohen Entringer did replace Wampa after that. Yeah. And I know Entringer has been really good at practice, but that's a big deal. When you're up 19-7, don't give up. That's the one thing you cannot do, absolutely, is give up a big play. And that's just cardinal sin for Iowa's defense. You cannot do that. And in that moment, it appeared to be a mental error. Just didn't make the right read. I would love to be in a film room there to see what they actually tell them. But it's tough. It's tough because you don't want to criticize any players. I'm not criticizing any player here, but it's just like you feel bad for the guy who just made a bad play in a big game. At least one that's on his shoulders because he wouldn't have got benched if it wasn't his fault. So tough one. That made it 19-14. And I don't know, just real quick. I mean, what did you think about the 2-point conversion? I didn't think that was that egregious of an attempt. Like I probably would have kicked it there, but as I pointed out in my column, that was the one thing I didn't really care that much. If they get the 2 there, then Iowa State has to go get a touchdown with 33 seconds left instead of a field goal. So, we wouldn't be having this discussion. Now, you should know if you have good 2-point plays in your pocket. And so far, Iowa's 0 for 2 this season on 2-point plays. So maybe they don't.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like hindsight 2020.
No, I know. Yeah. So I don't have a big problem with the 2.
Yeah.
I think the defensive lapses.
Well, I think the red zone offense.
Red zone offense was huge. You get a Jay Higgins pick and you're at Iowa State's 12 with a 7-0 lead, right? Yeah. And then they go first and goal at the 1 and a half to start the second quarter. And got too cute, went 4 tight ends. If this was Brian Ferentz, people would be losing their stuff. I thought it was just Tim Lester being too cute there. Just give the ball to Caleb Johnson. Give the ball to Caleb Johnson. And no receptions for Luke Lachey either, as some of our users pointing out. So Iowa State did do a good job taking him away, but you had first and goal from the 1, got a field goal. First and goal from the 3 later, got a field goal. You can't have that. You just can't.
No. Yeah, that's unacceptable, really, especially in – I mean, if you – like, Iowa could have, like I said, easily been up 21-0 at half at least. But – looking bigger picture, and some people might not want to hear this at the moment, but Iowa's season is not over, and they
don't want to hear that.
Yeah. So I just
just stop.
No, but there's obviously.
I mean, we can stop playoff talk right now.
You think?
I mean, until it's relevant again.
Well, I mean,
if they go beat Ohio State, then sure, we'll talk about the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's.
They're not going to beat Ohio State with this offense.
Well, there's obvious room that Iowa needs to get better. The defense, stopping passing, in terms of what it can do in the red zone offense, the quarterback play, but like the season's not over. Like, and Jay Higgins brought up the Penn State game last year and how that was like kind of just like that was a real reality check for where Iowa was going to go. And that could have easily folded the season, and it didn't. And they ended up still winning the West, going, 10-2 in the regular season. The final 2 games in the postseason weren't great, but the season's not over there. Like, and especially because there's the expand. Like, I know you say you don't want to talk playoff. The playoff is set up now so that one loss and you're not knocked out. Now
but they got to play at Ohio State.
Well, I'm saying they can make it with 2 losses. The margin for error is minuscule at this point.
Yeah, it'll be tough, but
I'm just saying it's not over. Like in last season, you lose this game and it's over. But I'm saying that it's
because you could still run the table in the Big Ten, but they're not going to run the table in the Big Ten with Oregon and Ohio State and all these other USC, Penn State.
Anyways, what I'm saying is there's still. It's not over, is what I'm saying. It's still.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to keep playing games. They got Troy next week, 3:00, sold out Kinnick Stadium. Tight end usage has been asked about. I'm most fired up about Kirk Ferentz's non-timeout at the end of the game, and we'll get to that because that's what that was a poor decision. But anyway, tight end usage, yes. Luke Lachey, 4 targets, no catches. Zach Ortworth, 1 catch, 4 yards. Addison Ostrenga, 1 catch, 9 yards. Hayden Large had 1 catch for 10. He's kind of a fullback / tight end. The play he got that catch on was a tight end type catch. But yeah, I mean, just the passing game in general just was not effective. And Iowa State knows Iowa really well. They don't know Tim Lester's offense well, but I think you would have to say through 2.5 quarters, you still had to feel pretty good about the offense other than the Cade pick because Caleb Johnson had room to run. The line, 25 carries, 187 yards. And Iowa had close to 300 yards through 3 quarters, right? So, I mean, they just stunk it up in the 4th. I mean, it's ridiculous. You had a chance to put the game away. 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 7 plays, 14 yards, 6 plays, 8 yards. Hail Mary. I mean, bad. Yeah, tight end. So, I mean, they should have gotten Lachey. You should force some stuff to Lachey, I guess, at some point. But, yeah, it is a crazy that he had no catches. Crazy.
And when you just look at moving forward, the thing you can feel good about is, or when it comes to how is Iowa going to respond, all the veteran leadership they have on the team, like the guys that have been through, went through a ton of adversity last season. When you talk about whether it be the sports wagering investigation, be the situation with Brian Ferentz, the kind of fallout of the invalid fair catch and all that drama, like, Jay Higgins, Nick Jackson, Quinn Schulte, Luke Lachey, Sebastian Castro. These are all guys that have been around the ups and downs, and Cade McEvoy you could throw in there, of the turbulence of college football. They know how to deal with this. So if you want to look at a positive sign of how Iowa can respond to this. And on top of that, a bunch of these are guys that came back that didn't have to be here this season. Jay Higgins being one of them, Sebastian Castro, Nick Jackson. They could have went on and done other things. I don't think they're not back to win 7 games. Like they're not back to win, to be a kind of middling team in the Big Ten. So I don't think the intangible part of it, the want to, the will, the effort, I'd be shocked if this is a team that cracks. I think they've been through enough to where they have that mental capacity to stay with it. So I'm not worried about them in that way. I think it's more the physical aspect of it, of can the offense come along enough? Can the quarterback play be good enough? And can you kind of just eliminate some of those mental errors on defense?
Speaking of mental errors on defense, Sebastian Castro made a big boo-boo on the last drive. Even after all the bad red zone play, the bad quarterback play, Iowa still had a chance to close this out. I'm going to get to the timeout, I promise. But Sebastian Castro was matched up on Jalen Knoll, and he was in the slot, and Castro knew they needed to get out of bounds, so he kind of followed Knoll toward an out route to the sideline when he probably should have just let him go, or he was trying to explain it where he let his eyes get caught in a place where he shouldn't have. Knoll slips out behind him, and that was the big play. I mean, because they had to get a big play out of bounds, and Rocco Becht threw a perfect ball, 30-yard pass to Jalen Knoll when they had to have it, and gets out of bounds with 24 seconds to play at Iowa's 38. Iowa then stops them for a 2-yard gain. They've spiked it, kick the field goal. So, Castro was taking it pretty hard. Gave Iowa State a lot of credit, by the way. He said they know us really well. They know what coverages we like to default to, and they found spots. And so, kudos to Becht. He bounced back after a tough start. He was barely doing anything early. I think he was 4 for 7 for 17 yards with a pick out of the gate. He finishes 23 for 35 for 272 yards. Higgins, we talked about him, 8 catches, 68 yards. Knoll, 5 catches, 133 yards. So those two guys, they did end up burning the Hawks in that coverage. So, all right, I'm going to get to the punt thing now because it's still driving me nuts. So you don't get the first down to clinch the game. You're at your own 46-yard line. Iowa State's out of timeouts, so the play ends with like 1:20 to go. I think it was a Caleb Johnson run. I know it was. And inbounds, so good job there. He didn't screw that up. And then the clock gets all the way down, and usually like a coach is going to stand next to the ref and say, I want the timeout, get with one. Give me the timeout with 1 second on the play clock. Kirk Ferentz doesn't do that. He lets the play clock expire. And instead of kicking from the 46, Reese Dakin's kicking from the 41. And to me, that's a big difference because a 40-yard punt only gets you to the 20 in that case. And Dakin, he averaged 40.3 today. He wasn't like booming punts. So why not punt from the 46 when you've got timeouts to spare? And Kirk Ferentz said he didn't think it was a big deal. He said it was yardage didn't matter at that point, he said. And so what do you think before I get going even further? I mean, am I crazy for thinking those 5 yards mattered? Iowa State's school record field goal is 58. That would have been a 59-yard field goal instead if everything plays out like that, but I don't think it would have. But anyway, go ahead.
I think if Torrey Taylor's the punter, it probably doesn't matter.
Yes, I agree. And that's what I put in my column. But you're talking about a guy in his second game of American football.
Yeah, so I'm saying – and when
standing on his own 25 receiving the snap. I mean, it's not like he's standing on the 41.
Yeah.
He's standing on his own 25-yard line.
And
you didn't think those 5 yards mattered? I don't get that.
And well, here's the thing is that when Iowa plays a game of inches, those inches in whatever way are going to add up. So that added to the pile of other things that happened earlier in the game of the missed red zone opportunities, just all of those kind of little, obviously the touchdown, the 75-yard touchdown was a big one, but all those things add up. And when it's a game of inches for Iowa, the margin is so thin already. So I think it's, I don't, that one play, did it change the entire game? No, but when you add it into the pile of everything else that happened, I think that I don't think you're crazy in saying that was a factor.
Yeah. I mean, am I on mute? Sorry.
No, you're good.
Good. Okay. I was sending out my column, so I wasn't sure. If you punt from the 40, to me, you punt from the 46. You spend your timeout and you punt from the 46. And he hit kind of a low liner. But listen, I mean, so he even said, I kind of pressed him on a little bit. And I was like, well, he's like, we were midfield. And I was like, well, not exactly. You're at the 41. And he kind of doubled down. Well, he probably would have kicked, he could have kicked it to the end zone anyway. But I'm like, that would have been a 60-yard punt to get to the end zone. Maybe, but even if it goes in the end zone, like let's say he's right and it goes in the end zone, that's still 2 yards better than where you ended up. And maybe the ball rolls into the end zone, or you're forcing the guy to make a fair catch deep. We saw, Iowa's punt coverage is good enough. It's probably not going to let it go into the end zone. And he's probably not going to get it in the air into the end zone from his own 25-yard line. Like that just is. I mean, I would think 32 out of 32 NFL coaches would know you need to call a timeout there. Like, and I'm telling you, those 5 yards. The kick was a really good kick. It might have been good from 59, maybe. We'll never know exactly. But if you're kicking from 59 yards, you really have to get into that kick. And a lot of times those kicks are low or blockable. It's hard to hit a smooth rhythm kick from 59. That would have been a school record for Iowa State. Iowa's school record's 58. Like, make a 59-yard field goal to beat you, not 54. It's just a huge difference to me.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing is, like, Iowa probably shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place. Like, if they were able to score a touchdown on one of those drives and, that they kicked a field goal or got that 2-point conversion, or even like we talk about before that defensive possession, if they had just gotten one more first down offensively, then that's the game right there.
Yeah, for sure.
It's there's just a lot. Iowa didn't make the plays necessary down the stretch, especially, and that's where I'm a little bit worried in the sense that, like, Iowa just found a way last season down the stretch of games. Maybe it was they made less mistakes. Maybe it was sometimes they, made more plays. But there were just so many times when you look at the Northwestern game, Nebraska, maybe some of it was luck. I mean, maybe it's just evening out the law of averages now. But we've talked about, like, Iowa could have easily won 7 games last season, or like 8. They ended up with 10, but that was because they were so good in those late game situations. They can't make this a habit of not being able to figure things out in crunch time and, not being able to come up with plays, because they could, if some of those kind of games flip, this could easily, turn from a 10 win to an 8 win, or unlikely 11, but 11-9, or, it just, because the margin for error is so thin that Iowa just can't afford to make those kind of mental and physical lapses late in the game.
Let's go to 3-word headlines, please. And I just I had them up, and then I tweeted my column, and now I've lost it. So, I mean, they're pretty bad. I think I've got close to 600 now. So there's no way I'm gonna get through them all.
We're not gonna list them off.
I'm just gonna pick some out as I scroll. All right. Westgate fired them all. Chad Voss, Cade not QB1.
Can I actually say something on that?
Yeah.
So I actually put it up. So Kirk, after the game, was asked, like, I'm just pulling up the question here. So he was asked basically, like, where you stand with the quarterback position at this point, and Kirk said, so probably the way I did coming into the stadium today, I expect him to be our starter. Now, Cade was not very good against Iowa State, but I agree with the answer in the sense that you can't give up on him this early, because he is coming back from the major injuries. He showed that he is still capable of doing it against Illinois State. I know it's Illinois State, but he showed flashes of what he can do. I think you revisit this potentially on the bye week after the Minnesota game. That to me, and maybe that might not be what Kirk or the coaching staff is thinking, but I think you give him next week against Troy.
They will.
The following week against Minnesota, and then you kind of revisit that conversation, because 4 games is enough of the season, I think, to give him runway to get comfortable. And if it's not at the point where it should be by then, that's when I would have that conversation. I don't think, who knows, given what the situation was like last season with Deacon Hill and how long they let him go, if that'll even be a conversation to be had. But to me, that is kind of the time frame that I would be watching.
Iowa punt returner says, suspend Kirk again. Irrational Hawkeye, same old bleep. Lisa Dondlinger, Johnson deserved better. Yeah, he had a great game. He was definitely the star of the game for the Hawkeyes. Same old stuff. Got another one of those. People are in a bad mood, as understandable. Phelan O says, enjoy retirement Kirk. Ben Schuff, Campbell outcoaches Ferentz. no question today that Iowa got out coached. I don't think there's any debate there. TC Hawkeye fan and echoes the quarterback thing. Time for Sullivan. First quarter he was 8 for 11 for 72 yards. The rest of the game 5 for 18 for 27. Tough one. I'm gonna keep scrolling. I'll let you comment on anything.
I was just gonna say the Cade performance was almost like the reverse of what he did against Illinois State. Like Illinois State, it took him a little bit time to get going, and then he was clicking on all cylinders. And against Iowa State, he looked good. Like he picked up right where he left off against Illinois State, and then as the game went on, things kind of started to go in the wrong direction. And that's obviously in a game like this when you want your quarterback to be playing the best.
These are ugly. These headlines are ugly. I'll just, cancel the season. Another year wasted. Interception changed everything. I think that I agree with that. I think that pick up 13-0 was huge. Bring Brian back. Someone in our group chat said, "Can't blame Brian," was their 3-word headline post. I don't want to name the person because I didn't ask. And the series. Only 2 words needed. Iowa choked. I agree. They did. There were so many ways to win this game. Any kind of offensive performance after going up 19-7 would have been helpful. And they just didn't get it. Iowa players said Iowa State really was I think it was Dunker maybe that said like they were attacking more. Maybe Johnson said that. They were run blitzing more, and Iowa just couldn't hurt them with the pass, and that's what we saw all last year, right? Teams were just attack the run, and that's what forced Iowa's 3 and outs. It wasn't the lack of Caleb Johnson being good; it was just like no longer were the holes there. Caleb did pop a 54-yarder in the second half that led to that touchdown, but you have to be able to hurt teams with the pass, and couldn't do it. Lose the game.
It's going to be wide open moving forward, even more so than last season because of how good Caleb's been. Like, if I'm a defensive coordinator for Troy, for Minnesota, I'm like, we are selling out to stop Caleb Johnson, and let's let whoever, Cade McNamara beat us. And, it's going to be there, right for Cade McNamara and Tim Lester's taking. Like, the passing game is going to be open because of how good the running game is now. It's a matter of whether they can actually do that, but there should be opportunity. It didn't really click. It felt like there was, with the not being able to get the ball to Luke Lachey, and then couldn't get Reese Van Der Zee going. Couldn't really get any of the wide receivers going, or beyond Jacob Gill. He probably, I think, had the best game of any of the pass catchers, but it wasn't where it needed to be.
I'm just scrolling through some a lot of people upset about the 2-point conversion. So I think I'm in the minority there. I didn't think that was the reason they lost the game, but man, should have kicked PAT. Don't chase points. Ferentz strikes again. Fire Kirk Ferentz. Yeah, it's ugly out there. But anyway, we got to keep working. Anything else, Tyler?
No, again, just their cushion is gone now, basically, to do what they want with the season. The season's still there. There's still opportunity, but the margin is pretty thin at this point.
Yeah, you got to go win these next 2 to kind of just get back on track. You got to beat Minnesota up there in a couple weeks. I think they've got like you said, they got the maturity to do that. They got the talent to do that. They averaged 5.4 yards a carry today. They've got something going in the running game. You just got to connect in the pass game. So, use your timeouts wisely.
Yeah.
Speaking of Minnesota,
I guess, for the lack of a better term, this is their mulligan. This is their one.
I don't know if you get one though, but
yeah, because now they have to win 9 more games and 10 opportunities basically. Yeah. And the Ohio State game, you would assume is going to be a loss. Obviously, anything can happen. But if that is a loss, in the scenario that Ohio State is a loss, you have to win every other game, which means beating Wisconsin, beating Nebraska, beating Washington, Northwestern.
Going 4 for 4 on the road. Yep.
All UCLA on the road, Maryland. So it's they control their destiny, but it's going to be difficult. The road will be difficult.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. I know it was tough for you guys, and it's not really like a ton of fun to like blast, people we cover, but it was a tough, they deserve to wear this one today. The Hawkeyes did. The Hawkeyes lose 20-19 to the Cyclones. We'll be back with you on Tuesday for our usual pod after the pre-Troy press conference. Get excited for that, for Tyler Tachman, Chad Leistikow,